Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Mr. Kazimir Boyle, who is our client, coming up for some scoring sessions with the Youngstown scoring stage, August 19th and 20th. And I just wanted to sit down and kind of talk with him about who he is and where he's from and a little bit about his pieces that he's going to record. So I'm going to dive right in and first tell you that the weather over there looks significantly better than it does here. It's currently 7:34 Sears. It's 4:30 in California, which is where you're at right now. But you're based in Chicago, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Kaz is going to be joining us in person, which will be really cool to have him conduct his own piece. Usually we have a remote session, but it'll be a real kind of a treat to have him. That way he can really communicate with the orchestra about his own piece really well. So tell us how you got started in all this. Are you a film guy? Are you a concert guy? A little bit of both? People are always curious about how does that fit with you?
Yeah, the bulk of my career is certainly film. It's been difficult for me once I got the taste for film scoring to define my own structures. I really rely on something external, the story, the characters, the setting, to help give me direction. But I did start as a classical composer, mostly writing chamber music. A little bit more avant-garde than the piece that I'll be recording with Youngstown. But I fell in love with writing for film when I first had a chance to do that. And that's become really the bulk of my career. I'd say over the last 20 years, it's really been a handful of pieces that I've written that were concert pieces, chamber, in addition to songs, things that aren't specifically film related. But I certainly think of myself primarily as a film composer.
You've got quite a list of titles. You're also on Ivan, the one, or what is it? Ivan the One and Only, or Ivan the Terrible?
The One and Only Ivan. Yeah, it's coming out in a couple weeks on Disney Plus, and I got to do some work with composer on that is Craig Armstrong.
Okay.
Golden Globe winning. He does all of Baz Luhrmann's films, and
okay.
He brought me on. This is the first time I've gotten to work on a Disney film, and it was just a real treat. Yeah. Craig's been a friend and collaborator for over 10 years.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's probably interesting to see the way that he would work something versus the way that you would do it, and learning and the whole process.
Yeah, it's certainly, and it's certainly informed some of the way that I write and orchestrate. When I found myself sometimes doing a chord change and saying, "Oh, that's kind of exactly the way Craig would do it," just because I've heard so much and lived with his music as an arranger.
Yeah, WWCD bracelet. What would Craig do?
Yeah.
That's really awesome, man. So your piece, how do you pronounce it? I always get it wrong.
Oh, it's Côte d'Or.
Oh, Côte d'Or, and it's spelled C-O-T-E. D. I'll put the spelling up on the thing. And translated means what?
The Golden Slope.
The Golden Slope. Okay.
Yes. So
now, before we get started into it, this is not going to be for film, correct?
No. It's something that I'm writing just for me, sort of to, just to sort of showcase kind of what is the story I want to tell. Not relying like I usually do on someone else, a director, producer's film or television show, but just sort of if I can write anything, it's that blank page, and what is the story I want to tell. And there are a couple. It's a region. The title refers to a region of France, and a region of Burgundy, France, which is known for just really exceptional, elegant wines. This is also where I went on my honeymoon, and just had some fantastic experiences. So the geography, some of the wines themselves, just some of the tourist spots, things I remember. Sort of like it's sort of a love letter to that area, and to the winemaking and the land.
And you described these, there's how many pieces?
17 movements.
17, so we're going to be recording 17, I mean, it's ambitious. It's a lot of music that we're going to be recording. Now, you describe it as French minimalistic, right?
Yeah, which I think doesn't really tell the whole story. And I've been having trouble classifying. I've been really looking up what genres and try to, how can I describe this sort of effectively. And I think of it as eclecticism or polystylism, just because there is a light French waltz. There's little scherzo-like numbers in there. However, a lot of it, many of the movements are sort of pattern-based, chordal, layered, that partake of, I think, of some of the common idioms of minimalism. And as far as the French goes, there's some French influences in the harmony and melody. Particularly, I think some things come across as very impressionistic.
So it has a lot of impressionism. It sounds like this piece has a lot of culture, like the love. Would you say it's like almost like a love poem to the area, like a something?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Even though there are more whimsical bits, I think that is sort of just shows the sort of the breadth of kind of the experience that I have there.
That's really cool. So this is this is interesting because I don't we've done some concert works, but not it's this is actually kind of a treat for us because usually when we do film work, there is so much more of a practical deadline. We need this thing yesterday. We've had sessions in 48 hours where the ink was still coming out of the printers. And it's almost like when we do, film music is a very practical thing. It's a very like, we got to get this done. But this is so cool that you've written a piece that's personal, that's been like percolating for a little while, that's something that doesn't have to match the picture to the indie deal to Netflix tomorrow. Like, this is going to be really fun to kind of explore your long simmering music is about. This sounds like it's an important piece.
It is. It's for me. It's kind of a first. It's sort of to release this as an album that's not associated with a film that is really important to me. It's also one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to working with you and in the orchestra is in these trying times, unprecedented times. It is difficult to get an ensemble together, and I should say this is 13 part pieces, 13 players in this across these 17 movements, and I could have sent it to 13 players and said, you record your part, you record your part, the way it's being done now for a lot of film work and TV work, and that can be very effective, and and everyone has the timing and record your part in, and we all build it back together. But for this piece, I really wanted that sense of ensemble, that togetherness, that intimate nature. And even though we'll be spacing everyone apart and being safe in that way,
I want to make sure that people know, like, this will not be a traditional, everybody will be wearing N95 masks. We will be 6, maybe 7 feet apart. I mean, it's going to be, it's going to be an extremely COVID conscious.
But players will be able to hear each other in real time, and
Yeah.
with the conductor having that same shared music making experience, which I wasn't going to be able to achieve if I told my one remote violinist, can you record both of these violin parts for me? I'll worry about the mixing.
Right.
And that was really important to me. It's also really wonderful that you're in driving distance of Chicago, and I'll be able to come and attend and conduct is I think a really something I'm really valuing for this experience.
Absolutely, yeah. When we've had a few conductors kind of who've come in to compose, and I found that they have a much more, you're able to kind of explain what you want in a less technical terms, and you can use more guttural gestures like, without,
Right.
I usually conduct the composer's work just because they're usually in Afghanistan or whatever, and they're joining us remotely. But it is when they give me their music, I have to interpret it, and then I have to explain it to the orchestra. When the actual composer is there in person, it's like there's less of a step in communication. There's less of a chance of being lost in translation. So it's going to be real special for them to work with you directly. And we have, just for those of you who don't know, the musical lineup is two violin, 2 viola, 2 cello, 2 percussion, harp. We have 4 woodwinds, flute, clarinet, oboe, bassoon, and piano.
Mhm.
So it's an ensemble that can't hide behind its section. You know,
Right.
when you have
Everyone's a soloist.
everybody is a soloist. When you have 12 violin ones, they can all kind of oopsie daisy, but there's no room. And this is really going to um, have to be. What are some challenges that you anticipate that we might run into in the sessions musically?
Well, certainly one of the things that don't have a lot of experience, but it's a color that I love and it's certainly appropriate to the piece, is using tuned wine glasses, because it's a piece about the wine region. It was important for me to bring that in. And so, you know, most people know that sound of, you know, rubbing your, you know, finger around a wet rim of a wet wine glass. I have that. I also have a percussionist, you know, playing the wine glass, you know, more traditionally, with, you know, small sticks. So just kind of getting that to work the way I'm hearing it in my head, I think could be challenging just because it's a little less common.
Water all over the floor.
Yeah, right. It could go. It could be messy. Just, you know, finding, you know, the right glassware. It's like I could. That's just, you know, that's a little unconventional.
Yeah.
That could be. We are going to be recording everything with a click. We, you know, have a click prepared. So in that way, it is very much akin to the way you and I both work in the film world, where everything has to have this synchronization. There are a couple pieces that have a lot of tempo flexibility. So I just want to make sure that those kind of things flow the way I'm hearing them, but also, you know, sort of leave it to the moment, and be able to sort of achieve our, you know, our sense of ensemble and synchronization across those. Other challenges, I think, is just the, like you said, some of that kind of everyone's a soloist, that sort of you know, the balance, and, you know, it's so common, again, for both of us and most composers these days to create a synthetic recording of what we've written and orchestrated. And it is so easy to make anything sound balanced when it's coming out of a computer. But that's the sort of the test of the orchestration and the notation to see how does this translate. So I'm going to be hearing this for real the first time, you know, when we have the downbeat. So, you know, I'm very confident in the way I think it's going to sound, but that's just one of the things that until you hear it for real, you know, that will sort of bring up some of these things of questions of balance. Other than that, you know, I'm definitely much more excited than, you know, anticipating any kind of, you know, sort of real challenges. There's one movement that is, other than a little bit of the wine glass effect I was talking about, is just solo piano. And that one is molto rubato, very, very expressive. I performed it in when I was writing it, and it was you know, somewhat improvisatory. And I want to leave the expression to the pianist, and at the same time, the click track that I've recorded is all over the map. And so that's just going to say, like, how can you interpret this? That kind of thing.
Fantastic, man. Well, hey, we're looking forward to collaborating with you. And when you come to Youngstown, I'm going to get you a pepperoni roll, because that's a part of the 4 food groups here in Youngstown. And ladies and gentlemen, check them out too at www.kaz. What's your website?
KazimierBoyle.com.
KazimierBoyle.com. You can see some of his other clips and some work that he's done. But Kaz, we're really excited to work with you, man. Thanks for taking some time out.
Thank you, Todd.
All right, we'll see you on the 19th.
Sounds great.